We're talking to Senator Harper from the Tennessee General Assembly, and the issue is the election of 2006 and the Tennessee General Assembly. And of course, Senator Harper, you were telling us about people participating in the suffrage this time around. And it's very encouraging to hear this.
Well, one of the things I think we forget sometimes as we complain, if you don't cast a ballot, you really should not complain, particularly not to those people who win the election and those people who went to the polls to vote. And I think many times that particularly females forget it was 1920 when we got the right to vote. Hasn't been that long ago. So we should participate excessively because of the struggles that others did for us to have that right. This time, I think there was anxious anticipation, but they still did not anticipate the number of people who would become involved in this process.
Was it that large?
Oh, it was that large. It was much larger than it has been, and it's an off year because it's not a presidential race. Generally, when the president runs, people vote, and the interesting thing is, so many people vote on a national election. And they are not interested in what happens to them locally and on the state, right here in the state. And I don't think they recognize that the power comes down from the federal government to their state people. And then the state people give locals the power. So when they vote for a president, I think it's wonderful to vote for the president. The president doesn't know you as a general rule, but your state legislator or your city council member normally do. So I would encourage people just to vote every time there's an opportunity. And if you're not happy with those who are on the ballot, write your name in. I'll draft you someone to write in. There's on every voting machine, there's a place for writing.
Write something
That's
in.
exactly right. All of us should do, and particularly when we look at our past history. Now, when we look at the vote this time, what you'll find is that many people voted for the governor and didn't vote for anybody else. Some voted in the Senate and didn't vote in the House race and you know, nationally. Some voted in the Senate race on a state level and didn't vote in the House race. Some voted in the House and you have that right. But you still should participate. That's what is so, and I encourage people, carry your children to the polls with you. And that's how you indoctrinate them and you help them to know how important it is. Now, if we look at the election on a state level, there really was not that many seats that were vacated and new people coming in. Here in Davidson County, we have a council member who is now the state representative for the 54th House District. And but Representative Pruitt was returned and I was returned. And then on the House side, everybody else was returned. On the Senate side, there was a member out of Jackson, Tennessee, who came in 4 years ago as a Democrat, and he switched midpoint to the Republican Party, and he was defeated this time. They were a bit well, if you are interested in one party or the other, and that's your choice. You can be one of the two major parties, or you can be an independent. And he chose to run as a Democrat, and he served as a Democrat. But right in the middle of a session, he changed, and I think that was what was so insulting. Wait at least until the end of the session and then switch. So in his part of the state, they were not happy. So they returned that seat to a Democrat.
Very good.
And there is the expectation that he will serve out his 4 years. The other thing that's always abound in the Senate and in the House, and it's not nearly as prevalent in the House as it is in the Senate. Who's going to be the Speaker?
Very good.
Well, we know Speaker Naif is going to be the Speaker in the House. He didn't have opposition, and generally there's not opposition for his seat. I think he probably has had some at one time. But in the Senate, it's always interesting because, you know, the Democrats do not control the Senate. And there has been a young man who, 2 years ago, who voted for, well, there were two of them who voted for Lieutenant Governor Wilder. And this time it's 16, 17. So you'll have to look to see whether that angel is going to fly this time. If not, Governor Wilder will not be Speaker. And there is a young man on the Republican side who has expressed an interest in becoming lieutenant governor. So it's generally the population's on pins and nails to see what will happen. Governor Wild has served, I think, longer than anybody in the country. They say he was serving long before the moon, but
okay, he's been there a long time.
He's been there a very, very long time. But I think one of the reasons that he has been successful is because of the fairness that he has exhibited in making his appointments.
He can work with,
he appoints not only Democrats, he appoints Republicans too. Even when the Senate was controlled by Democrats, Republicans always had committee seats. They had office space where they wanted. They had committees that they wanted. And I think the fairness that he has exhibited has helped him to be there. But things are changing now. They're a little bit rougher now than they were when I came to the Senate. So I think you'll see some jockeying this time to see what happens. And if his guardian angel doesn't come through, he will not be Speaker.
Well, okay, very good. And so this is a test this time.
It's a test, and it's a kind of wait and see. But even with all of that, there's some prevalent issues that come before us, and we have not focused as much on them. Well, I think the media helps us to focus on who's going to be Speaker and on all of those things. But there's some pertinent issues that come before us. We have the changes in the TennCare issue and in the Medicaid issue. We have a prison issue that our population isn't paying attention to. You know that the state has private prisons, and there's been a mandate out of Governor Schwarzenegger out of California has said that they are overcrowded. They're heavily overcrowded.
The private prisons.
The state prisons out there, but what he has done is ask those, wherever private prisons are that operate in California, and we have private prisons here, they're going to send their prisoners to the different states. So Tennessee will get a load of them. And what he has said is, when they flatten their time, do not send them back to California. So we will have a new population of
prisoners from different parts
of different parts of the country, but particularly originally from California. And I think we're looking at whether or not we can do some legislation to stop that.
Primarily come to our private.
They will come to the private prisons in Tennessee, and that's why I frown on private prisons. I think the state should control their prisons, their education, and the states really should control most everything that deals with taxpayer dollars.
Senator, let me take this second commercial break, after which we'll come back and continue this discussion. We'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Guest is Senator THarper.